Hello crafty friends, it's Jess from jesscrafts.com, and today I have a card as part of Newton's Nook Designs Shark Week celebration. They are celebrating Shark Week with a brand new release of the Shark Bites stamp set, which you can see right there to the left. It includes some really cute shark images, also some solid images, and then the classic shark fin coming out of the water and some waves to do that. But today I decided to use my Simon Says Stamp Wave stencil. I've seen this used with some other Newton's Nook stamps in the past, including this really cute video from Christina Warner, which I'll link to. And I thought it would be perfect for the sharks as well. And I wanted to do something with some texture in the background, so I'll be adding some texture paste through this stencil. At the beginning of the video, you saw there that I had a little eraser looking thing, and that actually is really good at removing sticky and even a little bit of ink from projects, and I had a little bit of stickiness on this die cut after I ran it through my machine, so I was using that adhesive eraser. To get started with my card, I just wanted to add 2 layers of color. I was going to start with cracked pistachio as the base layer, and so I'm just spreading that in the middle of the card. I'm not trying to cover the entire piece of cardstock, and I'm not trying to be too specific in terms of where it ends. I just want kind of essentially like not really a blob, but just like a large area of color. And I want it to be a little bit messy and freeform and darker in some areas and lighter in others, because I'm going to maintain that messy look with the embossing paste. I didn't think that I would be able to get a super clean look with the embossing paste, in part because it's so detailed, and so I decided that I would just kind of roll with the messy look, since that would be easier to do anyway, and I thought that it would add some interest to the card. So here I have some lightweight spackling from the hardware store, and I'm going to use it exactly like anyone would use embossing paste, but it is considerably cheaper. And I have my piece of cardstock taped to my Tim Holtz Ranger craft sheet here. And then I'm taking some painter's tape and taping the stencil down as well, because I'll be dragging the texture paste over the stencil, and so I want to make sure that it's nice and secure. I've had this spackling for a while, and it is starting to dry up a little bit, so I don't know how that compares to actual embossing paste, since I've never actually worked with any, but as far as I can tell, it has all the same purposes as embossing paste. I am able to achieve very similar effects. And even though this is a little bit dried up, I found that if I manipulated it and kind of smushed it with my palette knife there, I was able to get the proper texture back pretty quickly. So I wasn't too concerned after I saw how easily it kind of got back into shape here. And it's been dry on my card for a few days, and it hasn't had an effect on it. It works just like new, so I wouldn't be discouraged if it looks a little bit dried out. So I'm taking a distress re-inker. I'm using Mermaid Lagoon there, but obviously any blue that you have on hand would work. I prefer using the re-inker, but you can just smush your ink pad right onto your craft sheet and then put the embossing paste or spackling over it and dye it, but you're going to get a lot less of a concentrated color, and since I'm looking for a nice, bright, vibrant color, I decided to use my re-inkers. I really enjoy all the fun techniques you can do with the Distress re-inkers, and so when I buy an ink pad, I just buy the re-inkers as well. Plus, I like to use my Distress pads a lot, and that way I don't ever have to worry about not running out of a color. So I said before, I'm just going to run the embossing paste right over the stencil, and I'm not trying to cover the entire thing, I'm just trying to generally cover the center area. And in this case, considering the stencil, I'm going to go from left to right and not top to bottom, because if I went top to bottom, it would pull at those fine lines on the stencil and not create the look that I'm going for. So I'm just going pretty gently across, trying to get a relatively even coverage, but like I said, I'm looking for kind of a messy look today, so I'm not worried if it's not perfect. And since I did have some extra spackling left over, I decided to just do one more with some white cardstock, figuring that I could create another card with that later. So I'm going to put that aside to dry. What you don't see off camera is that I have to go wash that stencil immediately, because you don't want the spackling to dry on the stencil, and so you want to stop, clean up your whole work area, because there's also going to be that spackling all over your craft mat as well. So it does take some cleanup time, but it creates a really awesome look that I think is worth a little bit of extra time. You could alternatively just place the stencil in a bucket of water and wait till later to clean it, but I have a bathroom right next door, so I just clean it right away. Here I'm stamping some of the sharks from the stamp set in some My Favorite Things Black Licorice Hybrid ink because I decided that I would Copic color them. For the sharks, I'm going to use my C markers because sharks have that kind of cool gray look. Usually with animals I go for the W's, but I felt sharks are a little bit different. They definitely read more as a cool gray like any ocean animal, so that's what I'm going to use for them. And I actually decided to do 3 different sharks in the end, so you're not going to see me color all of them, but this will just kind of give you an idea of the technique that I use for each of them. I have a limited selection of the C markers. I have C00, C1, and C3, and I decided that I would use all 3 to create the blend on the top part of the shark. When you look at a picture of a great white shark, which these could be colored and stylized to look like different sharks, but I thought it would be easiest to just color them like great white sharks, and that's kind of the classic thing that you think of with Shark Week, so that's what I went with. And great white sharks are going to be darker on the top. We study ocean animals every year with my kindergarten class, and we talk about how that makes sense because if you're looking down on them, they should appear dark like the bottom of the ocean, and if you were looking up on them, they would want to appear light because you would see the sun shining from down into the ocean, and so everything looks lighter on the bottom and darker on the top so that they blend in and camouflage well. So that's just a little fun shark fact for you there, and it's true of a lot of other ocean animals too. Whales are the same way. So to get this effect, I am taking the C3 marker first and blending it from the line where the shark's top of the body meets the bottom of the body, blending it out with the C1, and finally the C00. I am adding just a touch of color to the white bellies by just putting a little C00 there so it's not stark white. Then I fussy cut them all out, including the teeth, which was a little bit crazy. That was very detailed, and I don't know that I would do it again. I think that if I was going to cut these sharks again, I might just leave a white border around it so that I wouldn't have to go in and cut out the teeth. But it does create a really fun effect. And then I ran a Memento Tuxedo black marker all around the edges of the fussy cut just to give it a little bit more of a finished edge. I find that I like that look there. And you saw that I was working there with that black marker just to get that effect. I also took a R marker to color in the mouth of the one shark. I think, again, if I was doing this card, I would probably just use more of that shark because he's a lot easier to fussy cut because you don't have to cut out his teeth there. And he has that fun forward-facing look to him. I was going to add a banner for the sentiment, but I realized that down there in the bottom right corner there was a perfect amount of space for this snappy birthday sentiment, and it's always great to have extra birthday cards on hand, so I decided to just roll with it and stamp that sentiment right there, and I went with the VersaFine ink for that just because it'll give a nice dark impression. And I decided to put a black mat around this card. I thought about using some different colors, but I really just wanted that texture background to shine through, and so I didn't want to add any competing colors and just went with the black. Then I'm going to glue on my sharks. I wasn't sure at first what adhesive would work best, and so I took a gamble with Multimedia Matte by Ranger because it's super strong and usually will glue anything. So I figured it would probably stick to this spackling, and I would just have to make sure that I put some pressure. So I put some clear blocks over it to make sure that it sticks, and in the end it does. Even though this is a little bit of an uneven textured surface, if you just use a generous amount of the Multimedia Matte, you put pressure and you give it a while to dry, let it dry overnight, it stuck just fine and is still adhering today. So that's it for my card today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're interested in more crafty videos, you can subscribe to my channel. You can go check out the Newton's Nook blog where this stamp set is just $11.99 for the full week to celebrate Shark Week. And I'll leave a link to the other supplies in the video description below. Thanks for watching. Bye.